on the municipal bulletin board on January 3rd, 2020, and revised on October 10th, 2020. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag. Okay, ready? There's my flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and one nation, God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Gina's in the waiting room. Let's let her in. Okay, we have minutes. No presentations, so would somebody like to move the minutes of October 26th and November 9th?
I'll move the minutes of October 6th and November 9th.
Second?
I'll second October 26th, I think it was.
Is that what okay, yes, October.
Say 6, yes, thank you.
All in favor?
I'll abstain from the 9th, I wasn't there.
Okay,
Aye.
Aye.
All right, otherwise.
okay, no opposed, just one abstention. We will now have an open session for items that are not on the agenda. If anyone is interested in addressing the council, please give your name and address. Limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you can, raise your hand in the participant screen, or if you don't have the hand icon, put your hand up like that on the screen. If someone would like to speak. Do we have any members of the public that would like to address the council? I am not seeing any. So I will close the public session. Okay. Would someone like to, I'm going to open the public hearing now on Ordinance 2020-1864, which is requiring recorded deed declarations for private stormwater management facilities and supplementing and amending Chapter 12 of the Borough Code entitled Zoning. So would anyone from the public wish to be heard on this ordinance?
Mayor, I was at the planning board meeting last week and they reviewed the ordinance and had some legitimate concerns. So I suggest that we continue the public hearing and send it back to the zoning department and the borough engineer for some further clarification.
Yeah, they did. We did get a letter from them.
Yes.
Their comments. So, yeah, I think they're worth looking into. So we will. So I need a motion to continue the public hearing.
Since I'm on the planning board, I'll move it to continue public hearing. Is there a date? When's our next meeting?
Yeah, that will be to the December 7th public hearing with no council meeting with no further.
It's December. Sorry, it's December 14th.
Oh, 14th. I'm sorry.
14th. Yeah, not the 7th. Yeah.
So I'll move to move resolution 2020-18 to the December 14th meeting.
It's an ordinance, not a resolution.
Correct.
Oh, I was reading the resolution to the planning board. I apologize. The ordinance number is Ordinance 2020-1864 to the December 14th meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, can we just do that? All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And
no. Okay. Yes.
And Jack, do you want to reach out to Jeff, or do you want? I'm happy to reach out to him tomorrow since I was at the meeting as well.
Jeff's actually on vacation this week.
Yeah, the way.
I'll be happy to reach out to him Monday unless you prefer.
It doesn't matter if you want to reach out to him, Jack. That's fine.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Christine, would you like to move the next ordinance for open space?
I move that ordinance 2020-1865, an ordinance appropriating $45,000 from the Borough Open Space Trust Fund for repairs and improvements to the municipal pool complex, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, December 14th, 2020.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, so this is the introduction of this, so we can just have a voice vote. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
I just have a question, Mary Jane. Did we get feedback from all of the committees?
We did from Recreation. I
Just
didn't
from
see any
Recreation.
others.
Okay. Aye then.
Yeah, we have 2 more weeks yet to see if we get any more comments, but Recreation was positive. Okay.
Thanks.
Public, I guess this is you, Jeff. You want to introduce this one?
Sure, thank you. I move that ordinance 2020-1866, removing the designation of Berners Avenue as a through street, designating certain Berners Avenue intersections as stop intersections, and supplementing and amending Chapter 7 of the Borough Code entitled Traffic, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, December 14, 2020.
I'll second.
Okay, questions? This is, we just redid this one from last week to make sure we got all the crossings included. Is that correct, Jack?
Yeah, this is housekeeping basically, and that we
Yep.
had to cover this when we put the stop sign up.
A through street eliminates the need to designate every cross street as a stop street. But once Berners Avenue no longer qualified as a through street, we had to do this for all the other intersections.
The ones where there's a stop, okay?
Exactly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Chad, would you like to move the next one?
I move that ordinance 2020-1867, an ordinance permitting open signs in the downtown district and supplementing the amending Article 12 of the Borough Land Use Regulations entitled Zoning, be introduced by title, passed on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be scheduled for a meeting beginning at 7 p.m. Monday, December 14th, 2020.
Second.
Okay, and this is, Chad, you want to explain this?
Yeah, there's some comments on this. So initially, very early on in this process, when Dr. Hammond and I were doing our sign review, we specifically put a exception for open signs that was subsequently removed as it went through the various committees where it doesn't matter. I noticed it, and as we were preparing a letter to go out to our local businesses, I can tell you it's an important statement that the zoning group is not 100% unanimously behind adding this in. Actually, there's a few folks that are opposed to it and believe that any kind of lighted sign would be a detriment to our borough, just to provide some transparency into the feelings of others. There are other feelings that a 12-inch by 36-inch is also too big. So there's recommendations that it could go to 12 to 24. Since we were unable to come to any kind of either consensus or it was actually a split vote, I told the committee that we would bring it to council for discussion.
The committee being which committee?
This is the zoning enforcement committee that I sit on.
So the advisory, you're talking about
The
the
advisory
Housing and
committee.
Zoning Advisory
Yep.
Committee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
This is not coming from the planning board.
This is not coming from the planning board, no.
The planning board has a sign ordinance that we passed just a month ago, is it? Or we're still?
That is correct, yes.
And what does that say what does that new ordinance say in regards to open signs?
It prohibits them.
Okay, so they're not allowed unless we do something with this ordinance.
That is correct, and there are multiple businesses downtown that have open signs that feel pretty strongly about them.
Would they be grandfathered in?
There is no grandfathering because they were not permitted under the old sign ordinance.
Right.
My understanding was that they were not permitted because if they were neon, but that there was a loophole in that ordinance so that those signs were not in violation.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Jeff, there is a lot of gray in the way that ordinance is written. So whether or not they're going to be considered existing or not, I think is a challenging environment. So I think we need to decide personally about whether we want to allow them or not.
Isn't the question more about whether or not they're going to be lit and how large they are, rather than whether or not an open sign in and of itself is allowed?
An open sign that is unlit is allowed. So I'm sorry, I misspoke. If you were talking about unlit, I'm speaking only about lit open signs.
Okay.
But this is actually changing the size, yes?
This allows them and it creates a maximum size of 12
Right.
inches by 36 inches.
where we had no size limit before, did we?
There was no size limit before now.
Okay.
Can you tell
So
us,
go ahead, Jeff.
you said the council, not council, you said the committee was split.
Yes,
Can you tell us, was it split in favor of it or against it?
it was split 50-50, half in favor, half against.
Really? Okay.
But against their existence at whatsoever, or against the larger size, or?
Against a lighted open sign altogether.
Okay.
I personally, I think they're okay. I don't find them unattractive. I'm giving my personal statements as to how I feel.
And you have talked to some of the business owners who are feel very strongly about it.
The folks in Olcott Square believe that they're necessary, especially, I don't want to use names. I spoke to them because it's very hard when driving through Olcott Square to see if they're actually open or not. So they believe that, a single open sign is something that's important.
One of the things that was discussed with our earlier sign ordinance in general was that indirect lighting onto signs was seen as more desirable and more in keeping with the character of our downtown than direct, like the OPEN letters being lit up.
Yes.
Is there any objection to our businesses having a indirectly lit sign?
I think the challenge is, and I don't want to speak for them, I'm sort of speaking of a general challenge. There are multiple stores that have them already.
True, but I mean, where we're talking about enhancing the character of our downtown and the appeal to people, it might behoove us to consider whether or not there's something that can be improved upon that's not necessarily a big burden to the store owners.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly don't know the right answer on this one, Tom.
Yeah, so I'm just putting it out there. I mean, if we could find indirectly lit signs that, that look attractive and accomplish what the businesses want to accomplish, perhaps we could come up with a win-win solution. Sorry, Christine, you were going to say something?
If Chad, can you tell us what were the feelings as far as why they were against it, those who were against?
It's hard. It's a chocolate and vanilla thing, right? You either like chocolate ice cream or you don't. They just don't like the concept of having any illuminated signs.
Directly illuminated signs, indirectly illuminated signs.
Directly illuminated signs, that's correct.
I mean, if you had a gold leaf sign that had a light on it, I don't think people would be objecting to that.
As a pragmatic matter, going back to what Chad said, having driven through Olcott Square, looking to see if it's open, it's nice. This indirectly lit, I would probably miss that. I could see the utility of having within some bounds of a lit open sign, so I know it's open to save me time.
Yeah, I think the opposition was more about the aesthetics of it,
Yes.
that it doesn't look like, the kind of look we're trying to go for with our new zoning. I think that
As
was,
long as it's only
That's
on when it's
exactly right.
open.
So is a compromise, is the issue, would there be a compromise if we made the maximum size smaller?
I think that would be a compromise, yes.
Because, on the one hand, we have a planning board and an advisory committee that are in opposition to it. On the other hand, we have merchants who want it. If we could come up with an agreement where we make it a little bit more innocuous by making it somewhat smaller, but it still be functional, then that might be a good compromise.
So I went online, Jeff, before this meeting, and I looked at just different sizes that you could purchase online, and a 12 by 24 seemed to be a common size of an open sign.
Does directly lit mean equal neon?
No,
Always?
directly lit would be like flood lamp or spot lamp, correct?
But that would be indirect lighting, Chad.
Okay.
indirect, yeah.
So directly lit means the sign itself glows lit, but indirectly lit means that you'd have to put a spotlight or something onto the sign, which means you just have a regular sign that's not quote unquote lit, but would be with a light projected on it.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure if does it mean pink and blue and green, bright lights? Does directly lit mean that?
They're usually yellow.
Well, if we wanted to limit it to not pink and green, we'd have to specifically say that, I think.
Yeah.
Jack, what would we, what if you say
Well, you could limit it to one color.
You
We're
could do that.
talking about something that will prevent the people who already bought it. And
From
I
using
go
it.
through town a lot and I know exactly what you're talking about. None of them look particularly horrible to me. So we want them to be able to keep them. So what
That's
color?
my
Red
purpose,
and
yes.
blue?
They're
So-
pretty, I think they're all yellow, aren't they, pretty much? Or
The ones that they have in town, I mean, they're like orangish letters. And I think there's blue in there. I can't see them, obviously.
Wait, when I said one color, I meant per sign, as opposed to a
Okay.
rainbow sign.
Well, we have some signs that are multicolored, and some of them actually, even though they're multicolored, they're pretty tasteful.
Well,
Yeah.
it's hard to legislate taste.
Yes, that's true. So let's have this go back to the zoning and see if we can come up with a compromise. Maybe Chad, you can reach out to some of the businesses.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be so the folks that are opposed to it are vehemently opposed to it. I'm not sure there's going to be a compromise there. So I'd like to, if we could maybe take a straw poll, I'd like to know sort of what the council feels, so that way I can use that to finalize this, if that's possible.
I'm in favor of retaining it, although maybe at a smaller size, but I also would like to hear, I mean, we've had no public comment either way on this. Everything is,
I mean,
word of mouth.
Jack, is it possible to retain the ones that are existing and not allow future ones?
You know, as you say, the ones that are permitted by the current ordinance would be non-conforming.
Yes. Well, but see, they
I-
weren't permitted by the previous ordinance, or at least it's questionable as to whether or not they were or not.
I
And they've been
I
there
don't
for
think we could
years.
formally, but you could certainly make a decision that you're not going to enforce against any of the questionable ones, that, you know, you're going to give the benefit of the doubt to the fact that they're non-conforming.
Okay.
What did the sign ordinance have that we passed already?
It excluded them.
Yeah, they're not in.
And,
So-
and we're, sorry, Mary Jane. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, we're just trying to get a straw poll, so. If each of you-
My sense is that, there's some benefit to the community to have tasteful signs, including open signs. I don't think flashing lights, which I don't think is being allowed in any of this, flashing's not allowed.
Yeah, no.
Okay, well, clearly that's not a good idea, I don't think. But secondly, I mean, I think, we could become known as the borough that has these nicely illuminated open signs that are indirectly illuminated, I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sensitive to what people want, but I think, there's some benefit to the community that I'd hate to forego it if it's available to us.
I think we should move it and have the public hearing on Monday, December 14th.
I agree with Christine.
Okay,
I'm happy to move it forward and have the public discussion, yeah.
Okay.
But do you want to move it forward as is, but or change it?
Well,
to
I'd like to move it forward. If it's possible, rather than have, I think it was the 36-inch size. I would move it forward with the somewhat smaller size.
Smaller size?
did
Okay.
you say 12 by 24, Chad? Was that?
Yeah, 12 inches by 24 inches.
And what's in this proposal? The one that,
It's 12 inches by 36 inches.
Would we have to do that now? Would it be more appropriate to make that modification after public input, versus us just talking about it? I mean,
But you can make further changes after the public speaks.
okay.
I like the 12 by 24 idea. If it's already a common size, I don't know why we need to go beyond what's normal anyway.
Okay.
I agree.
And to be honest, the lack of enforcement on the existing, I think there's only 2 existing ones, may also be a reasonable compromise that I can bring back to the committee. I believe that we meet before our meeting on the 14th.
Okay, so did we have a second on that, Anthony?
I'll second the move.
I think we did. Okay, so all in favor?
Wait, didn't Chad move it? He can't second himself, can he?
I think Christine moved it and I seconded it.
Oh, thank you.
I think I moved
Come
it, but I'm-
on.
Anthony, do we have we had a move in a second? Yes.
Yes, we did.
put
Okay,
me down.
And Jeff seconded.
all right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, and Bonnie, I see your hand up. This is not a public opportunity right now in the meeting. But we will have a public hearing at the next meeting where the public can weigh in on this.
Okay, so without substantively, how do I express comments for the next meeting? Wait till the next meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
or you can write them and send them in as well.
May I
Okay,
make a comment about something that Councilman McQueen said, that we talked a couple times about non-enforcement of that ordinance. I wouldn't want to frame it that way. I don't want to make it sound like our zoning officers are not enforcing things. My understanding from when I sat on the Housing and Zoning Committee was that the language at the time was unenforceable. And that's why there was no action taken, because the language was either too vague in some parts or too specific in others. And there was really no way to enforce the sign ordinance as it formally stood. So I really don't want to characterize our officers as not enforcing things.
But can we, if it was
I was just driving towards
unenforceable?
prosecutorial discretion kind of thing, to give the benefit of the doubt to the existing signs, but I think that's consistent with what you said.
okay. Moving on to resolutions, we have resolution 2266. Wow, there's a lot of them. Through 2283. Any you want to take off the consent agenda?
Yeah, if you can just give me a second, Mayor, because I have to go forward to the agenda here.
We should probably discuss 281 and 283. You can leave them in the consent agenda unless somebody wants to pull them.
I have a question about 271 and 275.
I have a question about 268.
All right. Should we do them one at a time? Or do you want it? Let's start with 268. Chad, what are your questions on 268?
I was just curious if there was a specific job that this was for, or if this was just an open contract.
I think based on the email, it was an open contract.
I think we do it every year.
Yes.
So that
Okay.
anytime there's an issue, we have somebody to call to go out.
On
Here.
call.
Right. And I think this is for like when a tree crosses a road or something like that. Is that we'd have emergency tree pruning or removal in that circumstance?
Yeah, if there's a storm and something, yeah, then we have somebody to call for the whole year. This is an annual contract, I assume, or is it?
Yes.
Yes, Mayor.
And I'm assuming that all caps are budgetary caps in our own budget, not theirs. What are the controls in this contract?
It is by, well, let me see. Am I muted here?
No, you're on.
You're good.
Okay. It's really by incident, Chad. I mean, it's
Okay.
emergency work that needs to be done, and we will, we find it in the budget.
So whatever they charge us, we pay.
Well,
We should probably put a cap on it for the year.
we can do that, Jack, but
It
if it gets to the point where we have to exceed it, we will still go out and call for the work to be done, and then,
Right.
Okay.
make it right afterwards. Hopefully, we don't get to that point.
Okay.
And Ralph, does our DPW do tree work? And this is just in extraordinary circumstances that we call, or?
Yes, it's an emergency, and usually such an emergency would be a large tree that has crossed the road and is, out of the tools that we have in the road department to work on such a thing. As far as tree work, yeah, when there's limbs that go down and small trees that go down, the road department will take care of that. But normally this is for larger, bigger trees that's beyond our scope.
Okay, I think, Jeff, 271, you were questioning the joint agreement.
Yeah, I'm actually not questioning the joint agreement, but apparently some other municipality dropped out, and so our fee increased.
Yeah.
And the question I have is, since we came to this agreement under a certain understanding that this is what everybody would pay, Jack, this is actually a question for the attorney. Can the other borough or the other municipality drop out in the middle so that the other municipalities now incur a greater cost?
I think they dropped out in the beginning, not in the middle.
Yeah, I don't think you can drop out once the contract's in effect without notice.
No.
But I thought when we approved our going into this whole thing, it was said, this is the amount you're going to pay.
Yeah.
And if more people come, it could go down, but it can't go up. I thought that was the original discussion.
Yeah, and we made this agreement with this attorney, and then the other municipality drops out. I'm not sure that should be allowed. in fairness to the municipalities that stayed in. My presumption is they're gonna get the benefit of this.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a similar question about 271 as well. I wasn't sure when they pulled out and why we weren't informed when that happened, rather than now just being requested to pay more money.
How much more are they asking for?
It's not a huge amount. I think it's something like $3,000 that'll accrue to us, but still, it's.
But I think it was only 4,200 to begin with. So when you think about from a percentage perspective, it's pretty high.
Yeah, and everyone is paying more because of that.
Who dropped out?
I don't know. I don't know what town it was.
But I'm pretty confident that we were told originally, this is your bill. It could go down if more boroughs, municipalities join, but it can't go up. I wasn't that the discussion?
No, it was an estimate. It wasn't a locked in amount of money. Because like
no, it was not to exceed a certain amount. That was locked in. And now the maximum, the not to exceed part is increasing.
By 1,100.
1,100 on 4,200?
Yep.
So it's like that's about a 20.
88.
So,
It went from 4,200 in the second whereas to the third whereas, and now it's 5388.57.
That's
yeah,
about a
confusing. I actually was going by the table, but
26% increase.
Wait, but I thought it went to 9,000. Am I thinking of a different?
No, it was not. I think it's 9,000.
It is 9,000, yes.
Yeah.
And Bedminster was driving this. Did they agree to this? I mean, who made the agreement to say to the other municipality, okay, drop out? I mean, I think the other constituencies have a right to appeal this.
What would you like to do? Jack, what are we legally allowed to do here?
I'll have to look at the agreement. I didn't draft it. If you want to pull it and put it off to the next meeting, I'll review the agreement. I'll look for it now, but.
I'd like to at least ask the question. I think it's worth asking the question. I mean, if we're legally bound, we're legally bound. That's one thing. But if we're not legally bound and somebody else should be legally bound, then I think it's worth asking the question.
I think it is too.
Okay, so
if you pull it, I will find out in the meantime.
Okay, so we'll take that off. What was the next one?
I had 275, unless somebody has one before that.
Hang on there.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has.
No, I do not. No.
So, I'm just curious. This has been an unused license, a liquor license for a while. How long do we let this go along unused? And what are our recourses? And what happens if we do not approve this?
I think as long as they pay for it, there's not a lot we can do, is there, Jack?
No, yeah, I'm just looking at the regulations now. And I don't think there is, and the director can do it anyway.
I seem to recall.
The petition says they've tried to sell it a few times unsuccessfully, as I recall.
And I seem to recall if we don't renew these things, we talked about it before, we could run the risk of actually losing it.
And this is actually a package.
Right.
This is a package good license.
Right.
Drolleman's store that's
Right.
now closed. So it's not a serving license.
Correct.
So I think as long as they maintain it and they pay it, we're kind of roped in by the ABC on that.
Yeah, that was just, mine was more of a question than an objection. I just wanted to understand, could this go on indefinitely? And what would our recourse for the borough? Because it's the borough's advantage to have this being used. And right now it's not for a long time.
Yeah.
They did say they were trying to sell it.
I think to Councilman Donahue's point, though, and I think this was brought up last year at the same time when we were going over this, we want to be careful we don't push too hard, in the sense that if they say, well, fine, we'll just let it expire, then we can't get it back. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So we don't want them to lapse it. Certainly, that would be worse than us pushing back. Maybe we can do something. I don't know, Mayor. Can we reach out to the owner and just say, is there something the borough can do to, encourage how this might be used? I mean, obviously, we don't want to get involved in public business, but just say we're interested in redeveloping downtown. Do you guys see a use for this in the near future or something that we could just, try and cooperate with them?
Can always try and cooperate with them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's our best course forward,
Yeah, and that's, I can't think of the name of it. The people that own the Berners Inn, what is their company name?
Hampshire,
Hampshire.
on
Yeah,
the-
Hampshire owns
on
it.
page 48.
Yeah, Hampshire owns it. So, we're in conversations with them anyway, so we certainly can ask what the status of that is. And there is an effort now to reform the liquor laws. There's been quite a push recently to try and reform some of these license laws. So it may be changing at one point, which would be great, to not have these limits based on population.
So I actually have something I thought of on 20-272.
Yes.
So I just wanted to ask Ralph Maresca, it says establishing a procedure for negative change orders.
Yeah.
So I think I'm reading this correctly, but if I'm not, I just wanted clarification. A negative change order would be a change order that's saving the borough money. Is that correct?
Yes,
That's correct.
Okay.
the reduction in price.
Right. And so we didn't have a procedure for this in the past, or we're just clarifying and modifying existing procedure?
We did each one separately, which is what
Yeah.
we're doing tonight. So
What we're doing tonight. Yeah.
instead of having this big, long list of negative change orders, we would just allow them to go through, have a procedure for them not having to show up on every agenda like that.
Okay.
That's correct.
And I know
Thank you.
That
this
was
is my newness to the financial committee. From a bookkeeping perspective, does this just go back into the general fund? How is this money reappropriated in the right place? Or
It should
changed?
stay in the ordinance that it would go back into the ordinance that it was originally, taken from.
But from a budget perspective, if the money's not going to be spent, what's the next step from there, Rob?
If
You
you
can-
close the ordinance, what happens?
You can, if you choose to, you could cancel the balance. If there's an ordinance is for $100,000 and this puts back 10,000 into it, you could cancel that and that would go back into the capital improvement fund to be reallocated.
Now, is that a process that we go through routinely? Because I imagine that this is something that happens.
Yes, we do go through that routinely, actually. And
Okay.
we're pretty, there was a time when we had a lot of ordinances on the books that, and we would go through that every year. But as recently, what we put in the books, what we put out there, we've spent, we've utilized. But we do, Leslie and I do look at that towards the end of the year. If there's anything to cancel, we bring it back to you on an agenda as a cancellation of ordinance balance.
And
Because
in
some of
the
these are
course
large
of-
numbers.
Yeah, in the course of a project, there will be positives and negatives. So sometimes it actually comes out equal in the end. It's
Right.
not, the positive ones you will always see because the council needs to approve those. Because
Right.
that means there's,
And when you approve positive ones, that resolution will include reference to the negative ones because it will have an ongoing accounting.
Right.
and you'll know what the balance of that ordinance is.
Exactly.
Right. And we usually wait, Chad, a year or two, depends on the scope of the project, to make sure that money that's left over is completely unnecessary at the time
Okay.
before we move it out or cancel it.
And Chad, just so you're aware, a lot of these won't go back into the general fund because there's funds that need to be put against some of these negative numbers that were kind of put elsewhere. And Doug is going to then charge them now to the right place. So.
So now we're down to 281. We want to pull that one off and talk about that separately.
Yep.
And 283.
I'm sorry, I guess I didn't see the fees. I'm sorry, 282. I didn't see what the fees are for parking contractors. Did we establish an actual number?
Yeah, there's a number of
250 a day.
Yeah,
250.
yeah, we talked about last meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't in last meeting, so Thank you for that.
Yeah, that was, Jeff Price did some research, and asked some other towns what they charge, and that was the going rate. So that's what we would have settled on.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, so we're taking off 271, 281, and 283. Yes?
Yes.
We're going to come back and talk about 81 and 83 after the
Yes.
video.
Yeah, right now we're just going to do the consent ones. So 271 is going back for Jack to check on that, and then we'll discuss those other two separately.
Right.
So we need a motion for 266 to 282 without 281 and 283 and 71. Got that?
So I move resolutions 20-266 to 20-282, not including 20-271 and not including 20-281.
Well said.
Well done.
Yes.
And
You get a
283.
chocolate chip cookie.
I'll
And
second
283.
that. But I think it's,
Roll call, please.
Jeff, did you have something to say?
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
yes, I just want to acknowledge, though, it got kind of lost in all this, 273. Thank you to Joanna Wissinger for her donation.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I mean, that deserves an individual call out.
It certainly does.
And she's not here. She's usually always here.
She's always here.
Yeah, I don't see her.
Mr.
Yeah.
McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Mr. O'Day,
Yes.
Ms. Menorah,
Yes.
Okay. So now we're on 281. 2281. This is 271 Minebrook Road. The planning board did approve the subdivision.
Yes.
Yes.
The three questions are first of all, it has to be by auction. You can lease property by either auction or sealed bids, but the local lands and buildings law provides it has to be by auction. So we'll have to have a Zoom auction,
Okay.
which is fine. It was 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Secondly, as you know, you retained Chuck Hendershot from Field Home Realty last week. He has since inspected the property and is in the process of taking photographs. In fact, we just got a email from him saying the drone pictures came out amazing. And he's also having videos done and things. And what he'll be doing is promoting the auction. Based on our discussions, we also concluded that we should not include a minimum bid. A minimum bid can lower the final bid because people will just, exceed it by a de minimis amount. So it was his recommendation, and I concur, that we should not set forth a minimum bid, but remember, we have reserved the right to reject all bids. So if they come in too low, we'll just go out and start over again. The third is that the suggested bid opening date is December 17th, which he felt was doable. So those three things are okay with you. Everything else was in the resolution that was in the original agenda. A supplemented resolution has since been inserted, but those are the 3 points that were added.
Jack, just for modification, would this be like a live auction, or would be sealed bids opened on the?
No, it's going to be a live auction.
Okay.
It's actually how we sold the old library, but it was much easier because it was live. So
Okay.
this is going to be a Zoom auction. And in order to do that, that's one other point. We're asking that potential bidders deposit $25,000. And the idea is to weed out people who are just there, as a hobby. So we're trying just to limit it to serious bidders who may purchase it.
So the auction takes place on the 17th? Is that
Yes.
okay?
And is this is only for the house 8 acres part, right? Not for the
That's
other
correct. We're not
That's
dealing
correct.
with the 2.5 acre or whatever smaller piece, because that will be done by a limited auction open only to abutting property owners.
Okay, and we've already subdivided that?
Yes.
Where is that from the planning board perspective?
We're just waiting for the resolution.
Okay,
But it was discussed and moved.
Yes.
Okay. And Jack, can you just clarify for me again, I know that Dr. Hammond brought this up when we talked about the first time, but the farmland assessment, I had emailed, but I really didn't understand Ed's response, if I'm remembering his name properly.
Yeah, and that's why we're not doing the smaller parcel right now,
Okay.
because that, I think, needs to be discussed, at length.
Okay, good.
Because basically he said that it could be qualify for farmland assessment. Because for farmland assessment, you need 5 acres actively devoted to farmland, and the area of the farmstead, they call it, which isn't always a descriptive term, is excluded. But you can have a fairly small area for the farmstead. So, his point was that at 2.5 acres, that he probably could qualify for farmland assessment. So we need to discuss that further, but that's a smaller piece. So we're proceeding on this big transaction first.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a different message than we got last time.
Yeah. So
No,
I don't want to derail. So we'll talk about it at another time. That's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that wasn't included here. So, okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't apply to this one at all.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so right now we're authorizing this auction to take place, yes?
That's correct.
Okay,
Now, as I say, if there are bids, you'll have the opportunity to award the highest bidder or to reject all bids.
okay.
But this is just authorizing the auction itself with no minimum bid.
All right.
I would like to ask one question.
Sure.
So in the terms of the sale that we're authorizing, we have an easement to use the driveway up until a time we either expand the existing driveway for our use or we put it in a separate driveway. We have a perpetual easement on the existing driveway to access the paved or unpaved portion of the driveway that goes off onto our side.
It's somewhat vague at this point in time because we really don't know what use is going to be put to the parcel remaining in the borough for open space. Secondly, we don't know what the state will do as far as granting driveway access permits. So something will have to be worked out with the successful bidder. The idea would be if we use the same driveway to limit the length of the driveway that the borough uses before taking a right turn into the borough property.
So I just want to make sure that we don't end up with a piece of property that has no way for any public to access.
No. At the very least, we'll have a common driveway in order to access the borough property. That was the idea.
Right. That's okay. So we're not going to get in a situation where for a year or 3 or 10, we can't get into our property.
No.
Okay.
Now that the configuration may change over time. And we have to negotiate that with the new property owner, but no, we've kept open that right.
Got it.
Okay, help me out understand how. If we're going to have an auction and somebody wins it, and then we have to negotiate with them about the driveway, but they've already won the property.
No, it's in the RFP.
We're going to reserve in the deed to them the right to common driveway access.
Okay.
If in fact the configuration changes, we could negotiate a mutually beneficial change later.
Yeah, and it is in the RFP there that you put out, that language
Yes.
is in there.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
people are aware of it.
Jack, one of the other issues, do we need to talk about power? Did that issue get resolved?
Power?
Whether or not
Yeah,
any type of easement or deed for power, if power is not provided to that other field and it goes through the house?
Yeah, I think the easement, as I recall, was that power lines cross the borough.
Well, that's right. It's in the planning board resolution. You're correct. I
Right.
apologize.
So we may have to grant an easement to the purchaser in order to have power lines extend to the house.
Can I just ask a question? Maybe it's been covered, but do we have any kind of understanding that if these become athletic fields and maybe lighted fields and the person purchasing knows that this potential's out there? I mean, 'cause I hate to go down the road and have them say, well, and then end up in litigation in 5 or 10 years. I think we should be clear that these could become lit athletic fields.
We can do that. I mean, we've made it very clear that we're
I've been throwing it out there for conversation amongst us.
and recreation purposes. So
Yeah.
I think it's caveat emptor. They're buying it with their eyes open that it's going to be athletic fields.
Okay. I just want to pen ourselves in.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mhm. Okay. So would someone like to move 2281?
1 second, Mayor.
I can move it.
Go ahead if you're there.
I move that resolution 20-281 to be adopted.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Menorah,
Echoing.
Ms. Menorah,
Yes.
Mr. O'Day,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 2283. Now this is for authorizing the issuance of the RFP for the Bernersville train station.
Yeah,
You've gotten
as you know, the mayor and I met with New Jersey Transit some time ago before the pandemic and told them we would really like to have a first-class business go in there that would be part of the downtown redevelopment. And they provided us with a sample RFP they were going to use in Chatham, which they own directly, to limit it to a restaurant that had the ability to apply for a government property liquor license, as we've discussed before. So they gave us that RFP, which I adapted and also sent them the draft contract or sublease, I'm sorry, for their review. And they just got back to us last week. So that's included in the packet. And I left the red line one in there just to show you the changes that they made. But I think it gives us the opportunity to not have to just award to the highest bidder, no matter what the use. And, it'll allow us to control somewhat the use of the station.
Is this another instance where we can reject all bids if we choose to?
Yes.
Is this restricted specifically to what we conventionally think of as a restaurant, or if it were a bakery or something like Monterey Gourmet, where they're more takeout, but they're still cooking dinner, or is this specifically for sit-down restaurants?
This is specifically for sit-down restaurants. Now, if we get no proposals, we can certainly change the terms. But we didn't want to make it too broad because that would open it up to things we may not want. But I think Monterey Bakery, I mean, the definition of restaurant can be broadly interpreted, I think.
Okay. No, that's really what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if some broadening is important here, because I think there are a couple of food-based uses that would be appropriate there. Operate a restaurant or similar food-like establishment. I don't know if there's a legal word that would frame that, Jack. I'm looking at the introduction, and I'm not sure if that would be overriding throughout the entire proposal here.
I don't know. And I thought we wanted our liquor license to be used, though.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, the bakery's not going to want a liquor license. Well, they may.
Well, they may want to have wine.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things in St. Andrews, Scotland, is a sign in a barbershop window that says "free whiskey with every haircut."
Well, I guess the question is, we're comfortable with being able to broadly define what a restaurant is, or if it's something that we need to be more explicit per Councilman McQueen's point.
I mean, can it be just food service?
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason we wanted a restaurant, it's up to you guys ultimately, was that with the liquor license, we thought we could get a higher rent because it would make the property more valuable.
I think we should stick with the restaurant at this point, and then if we don't get acceptable bids, we reject all bids and we go out with some broader language.
Yeah, I think
Good with that.
I'm okay with that.
We've had
I like the mayor's suggestion of food service. I think she used right language there.
Yeah.
But what if it's just like,
could be,
what if they're just,
manufacturing plant.
The former tenant was also a food service establishment, I could say.
Yeah,
So,
I was
yeah.
going to say something similar, John, actually. And, they came in with a super high rent and then, we see what happens. So,
As you know, we've had a tortured history with the train station.
Yes.
I think we keep it as restaurant.
Okay. I'm all right with going around that way.
And if we get a really good proposal that we don't think falls within it, we'd still reject all proposals and go back out, with a new definition.
Okay.
And do we mention at all the availability of the concessionaire's license?
Oh, that's in there.
It's
Oh,
in
it
the
is?
RFP.
Okay, I didn't see
Yes.
it. Good. Yeah, because I think that's a good selling point.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's definitely in there.
All right. So would someone like to move 2283?
I'll
There's
move
not a date.
resolution.
I'm
I'm sorry, if I could just interject, there's not a date, but I thought sometime mid-January would give enough time for people to come up with proposals.
Yeah.
And I can work that out with Anthony, if that's okay with you all.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's fine.
So I'll move resolution 2283. I believe that was the number. I'm going back there now.
Yes.
That's it. I'll second. No, to be adopted.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Hammond?
Yes.
Ms. McCready?
Yes.
Mr. McQueen?
Yes.
Mr. O'Day?
Yes.
Samara?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we are now up to the mayor's update. So on November 12th, we had a holiday planning Zoom meeting with Recreation, Joe Rossi, downtown Burnsville, and Ed English with the farmer's market. The tree lighting will be December 5th at 4 p.m. If you notice, the wreaths are up already. They look really nice.
They look nice.
Yeah. Downtown Burnsville is not going to do the holiday parade this year, mainly because of COVID and people gathering to watch. But what they are doing is sponsoring a light competition for decorating your house or your business. There's no fee to sign up, it's just a deadline so that they can actually do a judging and pick a winner. So you can nominate a house that you think is really well decorated, or you can nominate your own house if you want to. But so far, things are pretty well coordinated for the holidays.
Mayor, can I ask a question about that, or actually have a suggestion?
Yeah.
I've seen this done for fundraising before. What if there was a small suggested donation so I don't know how they're going to choose the winning house. Is it going to be a community vote? Will there be, I don't know what the mechanism is going to be, but I could see an environment. I know that downtown Bernersville is always struggling to find funds, and they're also always struggling. Obviously, the local businesses are struggling to help fund that group. What if there was a small donation for voting for the favorite house in the borough, $5 per vote?
I will pass that on.
And all funds go directly to downtown Burnsville.
Yeah.
That's that may be a disincentive for people who are struggling financially to vote.
Yeah. I think their goal with this was to have something that didn't cost anybody anything.
Okay.
So
It is suggested, so.
Suggested. I pay $5 to vote for Gina's house.
What if we?
I get
what
my
if we
new
have to
trees
suggest-
lit.
What if we have the suggested donation for the people who are participating?
you mean to put your house on the list?
Yeah, you don't have to give any money, but if you'd like to be on a list, if you really want to win, you can give a big donation. And
But then how does that, as I understood it, people can nominate you.
Yeah.
They're nominating you, and then you have to come up with a fee, or potentially. I think it's a great idea to try to help downtown Bernersville, but I think there's a better way of funding it.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
This
this
idea.
is more for like a community type event. And hopefully if there's enough houses, we could print a little map and people could go out one night and drive and look at all the houses that are on the list.
And vote online through like a Survey Monkey or something like that.
Yeah, it was more to just have something for the community to do that was fun and didn't cost anything. So
And the only reason I mentioned, so I was part of a fundraiser, and they were, the things were $100, the prizes, but people were, at $5 at pop, they were putting $500-$600 into each kitty just to win the prize. And I think there's folks that, now it may not be universal like Dr. Hammond's saying, but there might be folks that are willing to juice the pot to make their house win.
yeah. Okay. And this Saturday, by the way, is Small Business Saturday. I believe we're not doing, last year we had a little tent and had things to hand out. I think Olivia's just going to put a table outside of Wavelength And I think they're doing a coat collection as part of Small Business Saturday. They also, I don't know if you were, I know Christine was there Thursday night. Some of the downtown businesses had a little event where they stayed open late and had in the bagel bin, they had a couple of craft people, and it was kind of a nice evening for people to be out in town. Last week was the New Jersey League of Municipalities, where we would have been in Atlantic City, but this was the conference was virtual. I did attend a number of sessions. I'm not going to tell you all the ones I went to because they were, but I did go to the one on risk management, so we get our $250 discount on our insurance payment. But I did get, let me see if I can show you this. Let me get back here. My certificate from the league as a successfully achieving the level of municipal leader. Huh?
Congratulations.
So that's for attending enough of their courses. What else? I don't know if anybody listened. Oh, I had a Human Services Advisory Committee meeting, and you may already know this, but Somerset County has an emergency rental relief program using the, I think they're either FEMA funds or the block grant money. They should have information on their website. So if you know anyone that's, and this is only for residents, not businesses that are suffering, trying to make their rental payments. The Greater Raritan Workforce Development Board is having a virtual information center for available jobs at Amazon. So if anyone knows someone trying to find a job, Amazon is hiring. There is also a New Jersey Hope and Healing Somerset, which is a federally funded program in response to the COVID pandemic. It provides emotional support, coping skills, support groups, and referrals at no cost. So if you know someone who is struggling through COVID or their family is, you can reach out to New Jersey Hope and Healing Somerset. And I have flyers which we can put on the website for that. If you listen to the county call this week, they're actually looking for 800 Spanish-speaking contract tracers. Pays $25 an hour. So anybody that's bilingual on the state COVID website, they are really in a bind for contract tracers who can speak Spanish. And they're also looking to hire nurses. So I know the, what's his name? Dr. Jinks, the county superintendent, was reaching out to the school nurses who are probably not going into the buildings to see if they would help with some of the county testing sites.
Do they want the nurses for contact tracing or for the testing?
No, I think for the testing sites.
And, yeah. I presume they're going to train any volunteers who want to be a contact tracer? Okay.
Yeah. So if you know someone who wants that job, at $25 an hour. I had a meeting on the 20th, a Zoom meeting with some of the residents that live around Peters Tract. They're meeting later this month with our consultant. So just reassuring them again that we are not doing anything without them being aware of it or having input. They got upset when we started the trail, and I assured them that that was for the hunters to go in and not use Young's Road. But they're going to share their concerns with our consultant.
Who's our consultant on this?
Pat Hoagland, the
Branstetter Carroll.
Branstetter Carroll. What?
Okay.
Master rec plan. Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I thought we had somebody specific for this.
No, it's for the whole project.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Saturday, thank you to Bob Richardson, one of the residents in the Boylan Terrace Center Street neighborhood. Got a lot of his neighbors together and invited me to answer their questions about the walking path that we're proposing to go from Boylan Terrace down to the train station. A lot of good discussion. I'd say the majority of people are very supportive of the concept, but have concerns about, what it's going to look like, the safety issues. And I told them we would keep them involved hopefully, when we get the grant, when we get to the actual design, that we will keep them in the process so that we can have their input as to what's the best thing to do in terms of where it's going, design, and those kind of things. But overall, I think the neighborhood was very receptive to the concept of getting that pathway through. And tonight, I am going to appoint a mayor's ad hoc committee to research quiet zones. And Gina McCready and Jeff Hammond have volunteered as the council members. And we have 4 members of the public who have volunteered: Bill Braunschweiger, Jan Greco, Musa Nazi, and Kevin Combe. So it's an official committee, and I'll let Gina, you can take off from here, and Jeff.
Okay, good, thanks.
I think that was everything I had. Yeah, and actually, I think I saw Bob Richardson here at the meeting, which I thought I saw him on the call. But anyway, that's my report. Public safety, Jeff.
Okay. Public safety met twice this month, actually, November 5 and November 19. We have been spending a lot of time talking about speeding and speeding mitigation. Obviously, we had the speeding limit and sign issues related to Lloyd Road, Washington Corner Road, and Prospect Street. Since our last council meeting, we've had no additional feedback on that. The signs on Lloyd Road are in the process of going up. The electronic signs, speed signs, will be put up within a month. They need to be it's not a hardware issue. It's the software needs to be programmed for that. We then discussed the COVID-related issues. The increase in COVID the prevalence has gone on statewide, obviously, and countywide, but has also hit us in Somerset Hills, particularly notably. In fact, if you look at the week-over-week increases, they're greater now than they were in April when we had the first wave. So we need to encourage everybody to be adherent to distancing and washing hands and masks. There's no specific pocket, and there's really no additional action item other than what has been outlined by the health department. There's been some ongoing requests to the state for a crosswalk across 202 that would be in the vicinity of the grain and feed store and the laundromat. A lot of people crossing the street there.
That's good.
To access the laundromat. We're really dependent upon the state coming in and doing the review of that. And
Wait, we were approved for a crosswalk at that location.
Huh?
We
were. My understanding is we were approved in concept that they were. I shouldn't use the word approved. They agreed that there might be desirable, but the actual engineering of it never took place. And then it's a little bit complicated because of all the rules. So, for example, a crosswalk can't go into a driveway. So it's actually going to have to be angled in order to accommodate the two sides of the street. Plus, it would mean that we would lose probably 1, maybe 2 parking spots if the plan went through. So it really it's in a formative stage. Let's put it that way.
Thank you.
Jeff, if I can just interrupt for a second, I think, if we do this walking path from Boylan and it comes down where it crosses the tracks is over by the driveway where MJ Neal is. And it would kind of make sense that straight out from there would be where, because that kind of goes right across to the laundromat. area.
Yeah, the problem is on the other side, on the laundromat side. So
okay.
if it goes across from that MJ Neal Granite Feed Store area, you're right. You're absolutely right. That would make sense. It's the connection on the other side that's a little difficult. And it's because of the various driveways on the other side.
Oh,
But it is something that I think needs to be done because there's just an awful lot of traffic going across, particularly Bistro 73, as well as the laundromat and the cafe that's over there now.
yeah,
And the Taekwondo studio.
right.
Yes. We discussed our future plans for, I should say, 2021 plans. We've already started looking at a revision of the alarm ordinance. We currently have an alarm ordinance that is very difficult to enforce, and in which, when it is enforced, it actually criminalizes the homeowners because they get a summons. We're gonna look at revising that for next year, and also the development we've started. We've collected some sample language from other municipalities to start put together a special events permitting ordinance so that we have a formalized process for how to do that.
Okay. Yes. I forgot something in my report. We did have, and I think Christine and Jeff were there, the Diversity Council had an excellent webinar on, I think it was last Monday, with 3 really incredible speakers that talked about inclusion and diversity and what the difference is. And it was really, so, I mean, it was, it was Paula Gutierrez, who was the director of diversity inclusion at Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, Whitney Harper, who is Cornell University instructor and facilitator for diversity inclusion there, and Brooks Scott, who is a professional coach and corporate facilitator of managing unconscious bias. Incredibly well done. There were about 35 people attending, and the hope is that the council will have another similar program probably after the holidays, maybe February. So it was just well worth attending.
I left out one thing from the public safety also, if I could go back.
Yeah.
There was one other thing for 2021, and that's we want to investigate and potentially pursue an accreditation for the police department. This is something that was looked at by the council a number of years ago. Certainly, I think it was before 2018. But right now, about half the police departments in the state are accredited under this state program. It's about a 2 or 3 year process to do so. We're investigating it to see what the benefits are. A number of our surrounding police departments have done it. And so that'll be a 2021 agenda item. Yeah,
and just as a quick segue, I know there's finance is next. It's something we're gonna get some more information on what the cost will be. There might be a subsidy from the GIF, so there'll be some input for the finance committee down the line.
Thank you. Speaking of which, nice segue into finance.
Thanks. So for finance committee, we've had 2 meetings since our last report out to the council. We're working mainly focused on the budget, but also looking at our long-term debt service plan. We spent a significant amount of time talking about both of those items. We've completed the first draft of the budget. Normally we go through about 3 or 4 iterations of drafts before we have the version to share with the rest of the council and ultimately then put on the public agenda. So we're still a little bit away from that, but the process is well underway. Right now, the next meeting that we have for the Finance Committee is scheduled for about 10 days from now. And during that discussion, we're going to be reviewing in detail the budget status report, which tells us where we're finishing 2020 compared to what we planned for 2020, and use that as input into opportunities and challenges for the 2021 budget. Everything's running on schedule right now, and obviously we hope to have information out to the rest of the council as soon as possible, but probably that would be after the new year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chad, personnel?
Personnel. So the big item, obviously you can imagine on the personnel agenda is finding our new administrator. We had a total of 20 candidates submit CVs, and according to the way that they're rated by the Canning Group, 7 candidates had a resume rating sufficient enough to advance to the technical interview phase, which is now proceeding. Actually, they have 4 interviews scheduled. They have 4 interviews scheduled for this week, and they plan on wrapping up their initial interviews and having a ranked order to us by December 4th, 11 days from today. We also are acquiring all CVs of submitted candidates. Like I think I mentioned, there were 20, and those will be reviewed as well, just to make sure that we're as thorough as possible.
Thank you. Public Works, Christine.
Public Works met on the 17th last week. We, one of the main items was the Polo Grounds walking path. So where we are at in this project is that the last plan was deemed something that we were not going to pursue because it wasn't the right layout for the area. And so now our engineer, Bob Brightly, has to do make some changes or come up with a new plan. And part of the reason why the layout wasn't ideal was because there's an area that's a wetland, which we already knew. And we were trying to explore options as far as what can be done to allow the path to go through this wetland. And initially it was discussed with the rec committee and the option of potentially switching the wetlands. In other words, taking another area of the borough open space land and switching it. So designating a different property as the wetland. But apparently that is something that is only done under like extreme circumstance, like if we had to build a hospital or something of that nature, not a path. So at this point, if anyone has any questions or wants further detail, Bob Markowick, our rec person who's on the call, has, I think, been working on this quite a bit and may know more than I do. But what we need at this point is money to determine if we can move forward with the permits that we need to go through this wetland. Gina was on that meeting too, so if
Bob, you're muted if
Yeah,
you
you're
wanna
muted, Bob.
say something.
If you want to add something.
Sure, yeah, I believe we're going to have an environmental engineer look at the wetlands. That was addressed in the 2019 environmental resource inventory that I read from the borough. I believe there's some species of hawk that are the reason why we kept that land protected, which is next to the Autobahn, so I'm not exactly sure how it bled over into the Polo Grounds, but I believe that's one of the reasons for the 150-foot status of, an exceptional wetland. So I'm gonna have to find someone who knows a little bit more about that, but there is some info in there from the environmental inventory study the borough did. I believe that was completed last year on those wetlands. So I need to take a further look at that, whether or not we can go through there and what steps we need to take to go through there for the DEP. Kind of reassessment, I think that needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's
Bob,
not
that
just,
would be great.
sorry,
Sorry.
Yeah.
just clarifying as well. It's not just the pathway that would be infringing on the restricted area, but there's also this concept that the base left field of the baseball field would expand from 275 to 300 feet.
Yeah, that was a recommendation. When I spoke to Mike Hoppy, we both felt that 300 feet would give us a field that could serve every level that's going to be through Burnsville. So if we could get that in as close as possible to temporary fence, we could use that field for all levels of baseball. It kind of got, it's not really being used as it should because of the whole issue there on left field.
So it's a combination of reasons that we need approval to work inside this previously restricted wetland space. It's both the pathway as well as the idea of expanding the left field of the baseball field.
Yeah, exactly. And I just need to get a clear idea from the DEP about, the rules Christina was speaking about, because there is stuff in there from that environmental study, but I'm not sure that's as precise as it would need to be to get these permits. It's a little more general.
And
So I think I'm understanding it right, is that, and Doug provided an estimated cost of what it would be in order to have this meeting with the DEP. So permits and engineering for the wetlands area, it's a ETI application, general permit 11, general permit 17, and to extend left field, it's another permit. So just to have our engineer be prepared to meet with the DEP, right, is $9,000.
For the general rule 17, was there a differentiation between borough and private property? I believe I was looking into that. It might take away some of the fees, but I'd have to research out more.
Yeah, we didn't make that distinction in our meeting, so.
Yeah, Bob, I think the biggest thing was that, we wanted you to connect with Doug because we felt kind of like it was like he was kind of doing partial of it, you were kind of doing some, and I think it just all needs to sit with you until kind of like the plan is clear, and then Doug can execute on it. But I think right now everything is kind of like in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely meet with Doug and discuss that with him.
But Ralph, and of course, your guidance here as well, because I think it's just getting a little bit confusing of who's responsible for what. So I think a little bit of your guidance would be helpful there too.
The other thing that we were talking about is, trying to assess sort of the steps in the process, how much funding gets committed at each. Let's say there's 5 steps. So step 1's going to cost us $9,000. Step 2 is, another $3,700. Step 3 so that, and then we understand, like, there may be some point in this process, and I'm asking this question, not making a statement. Somebody may say no to us. Is that possible?
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it
Yeah, I
is.
was gonna ask, what are we paying for exactly? Is this is a permit filing fees or?
Well, the first 9,000 sounds like it's our own engineering to get to the point where we can apply for a permit.
Yeah, it was like engineering and environmental. It was like it's like a pre-assessment meeting with the DEP and it's preparation for that pre-assessment meeting.
Because all that specific questions, we'd have to have engineering sort of like answers to, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess that's the theory.
So we can show them what we want to do, I guess. Is that the idea? So they can see what we're planning?
Yeah.
It says final plan to include, but not limited to, drainage calculations and system, so a drainage system, a grading plan, head wall design and placement, soil conservation district application, etc. So it is going to be a plan that would meet the requirements of the left field and the rec committee's input, from what I understood.
But usually when you have a pre-meeting with the DEP, it's for them to tell you what kind of permits you're going to need. So you don't get the permits first. You meet with them and they tell you, oh, for that you need, permit X, Y, Z. And then you do the permits and then they tell you whether they approve them, I think is kind of how it.
Yeah, except it seemed like quite a bit of money for a pre-evaluation meeting. So that's why I didn't really kind of all add up.
Could they give us sort of a sense of whether this, this is something we could contemplate, or, no, because whatever reason that they're going to be a no. I hate to spend the money and have them turn around and say no. If they could have told us that sort of, or given us a strong hint earlier on.
Yeah, and it seems like that's something, a environmental engineer should know.
Well,
I agree with the mayor. I would think our own engineers would be able to give us an assessment of what our likelihood of success is.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're environmentally, if that's their specialty or if they've done environmental type projects. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and we had to get this environmental expert in addition. So it was like a $2,500 fee for Ferraro, another $2,100 or something for the environmental person to prepare for the meeting with the DEP. So it just, yeah.
Can these fees, Jack, they have to be general fund, or can they be part of the open space improvement, since we're looking to improve that property?
Yeah, I think they can be part of the open space improvement because
Of
they're
course.
really development costs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, I think at the stage we're at, Bob is going to talk to Doug about Bob Markowick and Doug should decide how to proceed, right?
right, but I really want to see this phase plan. So phase one costs this much, and it's guaranteed that, we'll pay the money and we'll pass through gateway one. Then phase two, we apply, and then it's maybe we get a yes, maybe we get a no, maybe we get told to go back and make some revisions. Like, I'm interested in how much money we commit at each point, and whether or not we're in control of the decision at that point, or whether or not NJDEP is in charge of the decision at that point. And, we need to know, like, how much do we commit altogether before we get the final yes or no from the folks that give us the final yes or no? Is that at phase two, phase three of the process? When does that come? Who makes the decision? And how much have we sunk into this project at that point? I'd like to see that outline so we can make this decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
no, I think that's worth doing because we don't want to get too far into it and find out we've spent a lot of money and it's not a reality.
yeah. I mean, and to that point, yeah, we've already spent, I think, something like almost $8,000 on engineering on the plans already.
Which, if we go back to the original plan, is not wasted money. If the original plan ends up being the only thing we can do based on NJDEP feedback, we still have that. It's not necessarily wasted because that plan doesn't require us to go into the wetlands.
Yeah. And by the way, congratulations, Bob is a new dad.
Oh, that's right.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you. During the last
Congrats.
council meeting.
Was it? So it was during the last council meeting?
Destined to be a politician.
Yeah, that's great. Congrats.
Yeah. Congratulations, Bob.
Christine, do you have more?
Awesome. Yeah, I have more. Sorry. Dam remediation we talked about at our last meeting, I believe. And we floated the potential idea of breaching the dam. So we're still the Environmental Commission isn't really fully on board with that being the best option for us because of various reasons. We don't really fully understand what would be the downsides as far as flooding or what would happen if we did it. So we're still kind of reviewing, but Doug did attend a webinar about it, and so did some members of the Environmental Commission. So one thing that was determined is that the dam, a portion of it does belong to New Jersey Transit, which is good because now they have to help us pay for the remediation, but we still don't know how much that's going to be. So stay tuned on that. As soon as we find out, we'll inform.
Do we have a deadline by which we have to remediate this? In other words, is the clock ticking?
We have a deadline to submit plans January 31st, but we need to request an extension to that. So that's one of the items Doug asked me to see, to get direction from you guys on as far as can we request the extension while we figure out what kind of arrangement or deal we can do with New Jersey Transit for this. So if everyone's okay with that, we're gonna apply for an extension
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
fine.
We
good.
don't have a choice, yeah.
Yeah.
If we want.
If they're gonna help us pay, let's do it.
Yes,
And Mayor,
yeah,
I'm wondering if the folks at Brandstetter need to consider that area if there wasn't a pond there for parks or other types of town amenities.
yeah. Well, if there wasn't a pond, you'd have more open space.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture at it right now. There could be a park there. They could use it for different things.
Yeah,
Or would it be wetlands now?
Well, to be clear, there is a park there now, and it includes the pond, which has its functions. We have a fishing derby there too, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too quick to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, we really discussed a lot of those things at length in Environmental Commission. The aesthetics of a stream versus a pond, and it's the main thing is that the state requires this dam remediation now. And so are they going to require this 20 years from now? Because it's a very big cost to us. So do we really want to face this cost again down the road, thinking about the future? Or if there's a way to, it's going to cost us the same amount of money today or, within the next 2 years, but we will never have to do it again because we don't have a pond and a dam anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't save us money in the near term, but over the longer term, it might save us.
right.
But if we take our chances, so to speak, and breach the dam, and it turns out to be something that damages property downstream, if that's a potential, then do we even want to go there?
Well, it was a stream.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how long has the dam been there?
We've dammed it up. It was just a stream that ran through all the properties.
Mayor, do you know how long the dam's been there?
I don't, and even, I asked, I think Peter Palmer, who doesn't remember it when it went in. So it's been there a very long time.
Environmental Commission did some research on it. So I'll forward you the emails. There's articles in the library history room about it, but apparently it's got a history, that dam.
Okay.
Oh,
All right. So the high points.
Okay, so the last items were the you already saw the money coming back to us for those change orders, the negative change orders, which was all very good news, I guess, for the projects, the paving projects that we were doing. Police station mold remediation is complete. There was also library mold remediation. And Doug mentioned that with COVID, some of these contractors are not billing us. So we're trying to pay them, but we're not getting bills. So he's working on, trying to make everything even with those payouts. That's really, that's a lot. That's really it for Public Works. I think, the leaf snuffleupagus, as it's been newly named, is out and about. If anybody has seen on Facebook, that leaf sucker-upper is called snuffleupagus now. So Public Works has been very busy helping with that.
Christine, when does that end? I know there's an end date at some point. Do we know when that is?
I think they said the week after Thanksgiving would be their last time around.
I saw on our website, it said the first week of December is the last time they'll be around.
Okay.
Yeah, I always point to the website because Anthony keeps everything updated.
Yeah, we might want to, publicize that more because we always end up with people putting them out later and then they sit there.
Yeah.
Maybe reminding people somehow when they're either on our Facebook page or whatever.
One last thing for Public Works. I think I saw email going back and forth this week indicating that we were successful in getting 2 grants for 2021 for a total of $550,000 for road works next year, which I think is among the highest we've received in the recent past. Ralph, maybe you can confirm that. But I just want to say congratulations and thank you to the people who put the grant paperwork in and did the work behind getting that funding for the borough.
Yeah, has that all been confirmed? I know we saw the notes and said we didn't have the official letter yet.
I think the official letter came out,
I
didn't it,
think the
Ralph?
letter did come in, yeah.
Good. Okay, great. Good news.
I have a question about just going back to the library, if I could, Christine. Did you all discuss the roof leak issue there? Because it seems like they've been repeatedly fixing leaks in the roof. And then I saw in some report somewhere that they're now recommending that the roof be replaced.
Yes, yeah, it was discussed, and I think it'll be put on the budget for 2021 requests.
Because it was
The,
a rather pricey repair.
Yes, sir.
Replacement, I should say. Is there any way to get a grant? Do we know of any grants available? I mean, we're talking about a couple $100,000.
Almost 3.
Oh, we're gonna have the library board, library folks at our next finance committee meeting, so I'll ask that question.
Okay. Oh, and speaking of thank yous, I see Johanna has joined us. Johanna, the council thanked you for your generous donation to the Environmental Commission. So just want to let you know we are very much appreciative of that.
Yes, thank you very much.
Land Use Committee, we have sent you, or actually Chris Colley gave you his first draft of the Quimby RFP for you to review. And if you have any questions, to talk to Chris Colley, and then we'll bring it to the council next meeting for any final, to get it, finished. So this is just the very first rough draft. So any comments you have, please direct them to Chris Colley.
Okay, so Mayor, I was just wondering if this had gone to if the draft, I'm assuming not yet, if it's the way you introduced it as very first rough draft, if it's gone to the Downtown Redevelopment Committee or not for review?
The RFPs are not going to the committee for review, because what we've done is taken the funding that we had designated for topology to support the committee meeting and reallocated it for them to write the RFP. We did not budget money for them to do the RFP and issue it. We can't pay for both because we don't have enough left in the budget for downtown. So we're going to put in the budget for next year for them to support the committee, so that the committee can review the proposals, which are really much more important than the RFP at this point.
I mean, can the members still review it though? I mean, like council is reviewing it? I mean,
I think it's going to just slow the process down. We're trying to move it along, because most of what is important is in the plan. The RFP is really just kind of a short, I don't know if you look, it's only a couple of pages, which is really just here's how you submit, here's what we need from you, in order to have your proposal qualify. It's not, all the meat is in the actual redevelopment plan.
right, but there were a couple of key points, if I recall, from the last meeting that that were identified, and I think if they're not also then in the RFP, which I'll go back and I'll review it personally
They
myself.
are. I think they made those, Chris put those points in the RFP.
Okay, yeah, I haven't had a chance to read through every line of it. It wasn't that long. I know it was only like 4 pages, but I didn't get a chance to read through every line before the council meeting tonight.
Well, that's why we gave it to you, so you have 2 weeks to go over it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I think the important takeaway is this isn't like set in stone. There's a little bit broad in some spaces, just to make sure we capture the largest number of respondents, and you can negotiate from there. But we don't want people to walk away thinking, reading something wrong or reading too much into something.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that that redevelopment committee, they were the people who have been involved in this since day one. So I thought it was just good if they were part of the review as well. I didn't realize that a meeting had to occur in order for them to review and have input. I don't know. It seems a little strange. But I don't know. I mean, what do other people think about having the redevelopment committee look at this, even if it's without topology?
I mean, as members of the public, they can certainly comment in public session, but I think at this point, they were part of the process all along, and, we're got the ball at the goal line, so I think, their comments are kind of already baked in.
Yeah, I think my concern is that it's going to drag out the process, because every time we have, there's rewriting, it goes round and round longer. And this is not a big, this is not like that RFP we did way back in the beginning that was putting everything in it. This is just a summary of the high points that are in the actual plan.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll take a look at it personally, but I mean, again, I'm just a council person who's been here a year, and I really would prefer to have their input, who's been doing this for many years. But I mean, again, I'd like to hear other council people's.
Yeah, well, Jack, I have a question. I mean, it's on tonight's agenda. The RFP is included in our package. Is it now public information?
Not necessarily, because it's still work product. It's still an intra-agency discussion. You can release it to the public, but I don't think you have to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think it's controversial. So I mean, I don't really think it's a problem if we share it. I think.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think I agree with the mayor that we want to move this process forward. We want to release the RFP. We've talked at length. The land use committee has been in all of the meetings with the development team. I think we've well represented their points of view and covered the issues that were brought up both in the land use committee meetings as well as public session when we passed the redevelopment area, which is the meat of the discussion. And I think that, the process should move forward. I certainly think that we should have this on our agenda next week or the December 14th meeting. Is that the intention, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah. And, but, I don't see the harm in other people looking at it. I don't think there's anything that's substantially different than what was previously been discussed.
I would just clearly mark it as a draft so people know it hasn't been adopted yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. I'm reading through it. I don't think it's overly controversial either, but I'm fine with it being publicly available.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, I just want to make sure, because I know with RFPs, the way that they're issued, I mean, again, private sector versus public sector, I've never done this in the public sector. But, if you don't include something in the RFP, then typically they don't provide it when they're responding either. So, yeah, so I know like something happened about something else that we did, and I forget what it was. Maybe it was the rec plan. Anyway, I just want to make sure that we're getting all of our expertise together, because I certainly don't have it in this area for sure.
Yeah, well, that's what topology is, the expert on this. So that's why we're letting them take the lead.
Yes, and we spoke about it at length, Mayor, when we were on the call with topology for over an hour discussing exactly this, right? The 4-page document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, housing. I know Jeff is not here.
Yeah.
He's on vacation this week. Chad, anything from housing? Will you?
No, I mean, so we obviously discussed the sign ordinance that we're going to take back to the next meeting. There was nothing that was particularly discussion worthy that we discussed. The normal stuff, fire inspections and whatnot. So there was really nothing that is noteworthy.
Okay. Any other committees people have had meetings with that you are the liaison for?
Just the planning board, but I think we've already done that at length when we discussed the subdivision, which took some time.
I have a report from the library board. Library board met on November 17, the last one. We have started our own budget process for 2021, just like the borough has as well. One thing that's good news is that the consolidation, or I should say the amalgamation with the Morris County Library Consortium is moving along It's about 25% complete now. The goal is to complete it. I believe it was by January 11 of next year. Yes, January 11. The conversion over will be complete for our Polaris system, which is the computerized system for checking out books, etc. There was discussions with both the foundation and the Friends of the library about what their commitments for 2021 into the budget will be. Of note, and thank you to the community, at the recent 50/50 raffle and the silent auction, they actually brought in, the final tally is not quite complete yet, but it looks like it'll be somewhere in the order of $14,000 to $15,000. They actually did better this year than they did last year with the live events. So everybody really rallied, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I got outbid on a couple of things, but I tried. I can't believe what those eggs went for.
The eggs went for, I think, 1,000.
Yeah.
So they better be good.
Yeah, right?
It'd be Fabergé eggs.
Anyone else have any committee meetings? I think we heard recreation. I think we skipped that one, right?
Yeah, we did have a rec meeting.
It was the same as our council meeting, I think, the last one, wasn't it?
No, I was there. This one, it was last 2 weeks, I guess, the Tuesday after. But I mean, the open space money for the pool fixes was discussed as a main topic, and survey going out for the pool. I don't think anything, trying to figure out what they were doing for the winter, as far as ski, and what other classes and stuff we might put together. I don't know. Bob wasn't at the last meeting either because he had just had a baby. So yeah, I think that was about it. And Board of Health also met. Again, no major topics there, just kind of standard stuff. Lucia joined, giving us the updated COVID numbers, but Mayor, you get those and put them in your updates. So I think everybody's probably most informed from that. I won't give old numbers from a week ago. As Dr. Hammond said, they're going up greatly, but there is a drive-through COVID test that's going to take place in Basking Ridge on December 3rd.
Liberty Corner Presbyterian Church is doing one, aren't they?
I don't know. This one is Pleasant Valley Park, 9 a.m. For the PCR tests. It's being performed by WellCare. So if people are interested, they can go to the.
But Mayor, you are correct. The Liberty Church was also doing it.
I thought so, yeah. And I do. The health department gives me the weekly numbers every Tuesday morning, and we post them on the website so that they're updated with the contract tracing. And I saw in our packet of reports, we are now getting a report from the health, a written report, which we hadn't been getting. So I'm glad that we're getting that now.
You can get that daily off the county website.
No, this is like their whole, everything, not just COVID, but all the different cases that they're dealing with, which I think is good to have in our packet.
Yes, and Lucy said she gives our mayor special reports.
Yes.
Mary Jane is the only one who has asked for this type of report, and she does it specifically for her.
Yep, you do it just for me. Yes. Tell her I'm grateful.
She seemed happy that you asked for it.
Has there been any decision? I know I had a chance to talk to Bob, I guess maybe about a week ago, and I think the decision on winter programs was up in the air pending what the school was going to do. Has anything changed on that?
Yeah, I can speak on that quick, Jeff. Coming off our fall programming session, it's just wrapping up. We actually have 2 programs that are still ongoing. And as far back as I can see from our registration numbers, this is the biggest fall we've had in Burnsville in at least the past 5 years. As far as terms of programs put on and revenue brought in, fall is usually a downtime in Burnsville for the recreation department. But we were able to get some things in the fall that we haven't in the past, which is good because we're not sure what's going to happen in the winter. We have some fitness programs going forward. As far as our field rentals, we're wrapping up this week with the FC Borough, which rents a majority of the time up there. It's just going to be Burnsville programs from now on. We do have the basketball. We met with the coaches and we encourage them to get their teams in place. Suggested outdoor tryouts, maybe if they want to use private facilities to do tournaments as Bernersville. If we can't use the schools, we're going to allow them to go forward with that. Because the fees are high, we recommend that they try to do some of that on their own and scout, figure out which facilities we can use if we want to go that route. The wrestling, we also met and have organization in place. Is going to be a transfer of coaches in wrestling. So that program's ready to go pending the school. And then the ski program, that's almost completely full. So people are interested. A backup plan for that would be if they kick us off the buses, try to keep the discounted rate and just have everyone meet the mountain. The rec department wouldn't really see much of that money, but we'd get people to the mountain and enjoying it. So right now we do have a bus company that will provide busing as long as everyone wears masks and we can fit a number on it. That would be good for our programming, but that could change at any time. And we know that, we have to have backup in place. So right now we plan on running the ski program and possibly some winter soccer and winter fitness. But besides that, we don't see anything happening in schools at this point.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Bob, I'll just pass on some feedback. My sixth grader's really enjoying the fitness program that twice a week. He was already asking like how they're going to do it in the winter. So,
we're sending out a survey if they want to continue.
Really pumped about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, the girls and boys and the women all love that program. So we're gonna send out a survey if people want to continue it in the winter. If the parents aren't too gun shy to sign the kids up, we will continue it. But definitely bring it back in the early spring if not. So that's just going to be based on what feedback we get from the community. If people still want to do these programs, I think they will, but we have to go with the recommendations. Right now, the health department, where they're good with that program because there's really nothing shared. There's not a lot of contact or spacing. Fitness is really easy to pull off. So hopefully we keep going.
Good, thank you.
Oh, and one other thing I just want to mention, we do researching. I believe that the fees were canceled for the field for 2020. And I don't have an opinion either way on this, but I'm not sure 2021, does that have to be addressed regarding the fees to rent the turf field? Because I don't really.
Yeah, I think it has to be I think it's going to be in our reorg meeting in January based on the resolution that was passed earlier this year.
Okay, because that was something I want to bring up at the rec committee meeting. But either way, I'm not going to, I don't have an opinion right now, but I just wanted to put it out there that that's expiring pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, it'll be on the reorg
Is that
meeting agenda. I thought that's what we had said.
Yeah, I think so. But I agree with Bob. I think it's a really good discussion to have in the rec committee about fees and structures across the board. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say.
okay? We have a request for the menorah at Naveen Park. I believe Hanukkah starts December 10th. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
And we had an email from Nancy Negri in our packet, and I think, Jeff, you were working with her on that.
Yes.
And I think as long as we have snowflakes or snowmen or something, we're okay with that, Jack? Yes?
I'm embarrassed to say yes, we're okay with that.
I think Nancy was going to be on the line, but if not.
She's here. Actually, I see her. Nancy, did you want to say anything about that? There you are. You're on mute.
No, I mean, pretty much I was trying to keep with the traditions of trying to keep the menorah down at Naveen Park. So, being new to all this, I'm just trying to figure out all the logistics of what needs to be done. I understand that we have to put snowflakes or whatever, so we're going to honor that request. I will also honor the request of where you want the placement of it. My understanding it's someplace by the gazebo. So I just want to do good by it. That's all.
Yeah, it's wherever the electric is easiest, I think, to connect. And you talked about wanting to have a ceremony, a lighting ceremony.
That's a great idea.
That was something we were discussing with, because as you know, I'm part of the Burnsville Diversity Committee now as well. And we had thought it'd be a nice way to try to get a community together and start our platform of making us be aware with the community. So if, we know we have to deal with COVID, a lot of things can change, blah, 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 but we just wanted to know if that was a possibility.
Yeah, I think if we limit, how many people and how close they are, that kind of thing, and follow, everybody's got a mask on. I think it shouldn't be an issue unless I see the chief's on here. Are you okay with that, Chief? A small lighting of the menorah ceremony?
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that as long as we're in compliance with the guidelines that are in place at the time. They're constantly changing. But I think, as long as we pay attention to that, we're fine.
Okay, good.
So we would need electricity for the menorah, so I'll have to figure that out. And then when we do have our little soul ceremonies, we would need a candle, but we're going to get the battery operated candles so that there's no actual fire.
Good idea.
The electricity is near the gazebo. It's actually behind on the backside of the gazebo, which is a little wet. I walked it a couple days ago, but just in front of that, between the gazebo and the pond, it's very dry and actually elevated, and we would have access to the electricity there.
Okay. Council, we okay with all this?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me. My only, it's fine. I have one additional question, but it's fine. We go forward.
You just need, I think, work with John McDowell as to placement and electric. And I know you said you had the insurance and all those kind of things. So I think that's really all you need to do. And how long is it up for? When is?
It was a time. Hanukkah's December 10th, so it'd be the weekend before, and then we would take it off after that. So within a 2-week time frame.
Okay.
Goes 8 days, the holiday itself.
Right.
Yeah, I saw 9th through the 21st maybe in the email, I thought.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So yeah, just check with John McDowell for the details. Great. Thank you. We talked about the RFP for Quimby, so that's done. Noise ordinance, and I think it's because so many people are working from home. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm getting a lot of complaints about noise. And I talked to Jeff Price about this, and unfortunately he's not here. Our noise ordinance talks about heavy equipment, but I've had comments about chainsaws, leaf blowers, and I think 7 a.m. is the earliest, and people are complaining that that's too early, and so that's something I will bring to the Housing Zoning Committee and see if we can come up with some kind of wording. I don't know, anybody else getting those complaints?
Yes. I got a lot, particularly about yard work, as you mentioned, trees being taken down, so you hear the saws on Saturday and Sunday morning.
Yeah, and I think if I read it correctly, I don't think you're supposed to do anything on Sunday.
That's right.
And people have been working on Sunday, so I think we have to be a little more strict on that. And Saturday, I think it's later.
Saturday it says
like 9 to 4.
9 to 4.
Yeah.
Well, then we need better enforcement, because I can tell you in my neck of the woods, they're starting earlier than 9.
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah.
This is Kevin. We've looked at this a couple of times before. This has come up over and over again over the years.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people confuse the construction ordinance, for commercial construction with the operation of small hand tools, chainsaws, lawnmowers, leaf blowers that is done by homeowners. And even if they bring a landscape contractor in, that's not construction equipment. So, we need to take a closer look at this. I don't know if I'm not aware of any revisions that have taken place that would make it different. We do have a general noise ordinance, but it's very broad. It just has to do with, unreasonable annoyance. And that's very case specific. And, it's we don't have a decibel level. We don't have the equipment to measure decibels. The county health department enforces various different noise ordinances regarding decibel levels from commercial equipment and commercial machinery. I believe that the most recent complaint came from the leaf blower incident that we had was it might have been on a weekend morning, I believe it was. but it was at a commercial parking lot where the contractors were clearing the parking lot early in the morning before the cars came into the parking lot. And it was, around 7 o'clock in the morning. But we don't specifically have anything right now that prohibits that. So, we're gonna take a close look at this and see, maybe what the best way to deal with this is, because when we've done this in the past, we've gotten a lot of pushback from residents who say they're only home on weekends. The only time they have is on Saturdays and Sundays to blow their leaves, rake their leaves.
Yep.
We addressed this with snow, with leaf blowers that are being used for snow removal. And in the past, we've always viewed that as a public safety issue. People who need to, who use snow blowers to clear their walks and their driveways before they leave for work in the morning, so nobody slips and falls. If they come during the day, get a package delivery or something like that. So there's a lot of different things to take a look at. But when it comes to commercial properties, you might have a little bit more success and less pushback than you would in the residential areas, at least.
Remember, I think it was Bedminster about 10 or 15 years ago adopted a leaf blower ordinance, and it blew up in their faces. It was in the paper. It was really controversial for a long time. It's a really tricky area to regulate.
Yeah, I think this, what I'm hearing more about is not so much leaf blowers, but chainsaws, people, cutting trees down. And I think the fact that it's 7 a.m., that's, if people are now working from home, they don't have to get up as early, to get to work by 9.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe even moving the time back a little bit.
So is the wording we have in the package tonight the proposed new wording, or is it the existing wording?
This is the existing.
Okay.
So it's just, I'd like the zoning people to take a look at it.
You can take it up in committee. I agree.
Yeah.
So just a quick question. I mean, if we were going to make a change this year, we'd have to do it pretty quickly. Are we asking them to come back to us for because if we can't get it done before our last meeting,
right?
I mean, we'd have to be introducing this at the next meeting.
We can't get it done this year. A few years ago, I remember the council sent it to the planning board. He studied it about 8 months and came back with this other one. So yeah. I would say as a practical matter, we're not going to get it done this year because as I said,
I think it gets done when it gets done.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I just was trying to understand what we were trying to do here.
Can you educate me, John, Mr. Pigeon? Why would a noise ordinance have to go to the planning board?
It's actually
didn't have to. The council sent it there just to take a look at it.
I mean, it just seems to me that that's an unnecessary delay that we didn't.
Yeah,
wasn't my decision.
Okay.
But we're about to do the same thing.
No,
we're gonna send it to.
No, we're not.
The zoning group will get this done in one meeting if we do anything.
This is going to the
zoning, not plan. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, not plan.
One thing to remember is our present ordinance is vague, but it's one of the few areas that you're allowed to have a vague ordinance, because you really have two choices. One is to have specific decibel levels, but then you have to have qualified operators and qualified equipment and go out and measure decibels. And the borough's never had the resources to do that. So we are allowed under the case law to have a vague noise ordinance. It's kind of like pornography, when you hear it. So just keep that in mind that, it is enforceable even though it's somewhat vague.
Yeah.
Right,
I have general problems with this. I mean, look, if you got a problem with a neighbor, you walk outside and say, look, can you not do this morning? Or
yeah, but you're already woken up. That stinks.
Don't always know where it's coming from. I mean, it can be pretty loud, and you really don't know which property, which could be streets away, quite frankly.
Sometimes, yeah.
And sometimes it's like someone they hired to do it, and they're not even home. Like it's a contractor doing it or something.
Yeah. If I can just say too, when we do get these complaints, we do investigate them, and most of the time we get compliance. We advise people of the complaint, they understand, and they either agree to hold off, not do it, or they stop doing what they're doing. I think a lot of, if I can recall, a lot of the complaints I think come from the repetitive contract cleaning services that take place in the commercial areas that abut residential areas along the 202 corridor. The properties on the other side of the railroad tracks behind, where the Audi dealer was and ShopRite. and in the community that's behind Burnsville Plaza there, the old Colony Road area. There's maintenance of the parking lot, there's street sweepers, there's, landscapers that come when the lots are empty. And, that's where we get a lot of those complaints too. And that's what I think the most recent one was. But we do, investigate them. We don't just say, oh, we can't enforce this. We have a noise ordinance. And if it's unreasonable or if it's annoying, we try to look at it at a case by case basis. And then most times people are cooperative. When we get repetitive complaints over and over again, then we have to make the case that, it's in violation of the noise ordinance. But we've never really quite had to go that far, to be honest with you. Most times people lay off.
I think, if we're going to change anything, it probably should be the hours that we're allowing noise to be made rather than the level of noise or how we're wording it. I think Jack's right in this one. We're not going to be able to enforce decibel levels because we don't have the equipment or the manpower to do it. So I think that having the vagueness in this case actually serves us in a way. And I think that we should just look at the hours and decide if there's hours that are deemed acceptable, better than what we've already written in there,
So, but to the chief's point, the thing that I wonder, since a lot of it, so the only place where there's an hour framework is in the construction noise piece.
As far as I can recall, I don't have your package, so I'm not.
I've got it here in front of me, Chief.
Is that the construction ordinance?
Yeah, so the general loud and unnecessary noise prohibited doesn't have any times. Use of radios and loudspeakers does not have any times. The only place where there are times that are, and Anthony, I don't know if we can share this on screen, are construction noise, and that's 7 a.m. through 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. So, the only thing that would change here if we change the hours, Tom, is the construction noise piece. And there's a part of me that believes that most construction begins earlier, and that's sort of the way that they run their hours. So I'm not sure that moving it,
But maybe you could add something for, smaller equipment like chainsaws.
See, I'm not sure I would be in favor of
or chippers,
Yeah, I think people have the right to do what they want to do on their own property.
Yeah, but that could start later. You're not interfering with a construction schedule. It's just somebody that wants to chip all the trees they cut down. They can start at 8 instead of 7.
Yeah. The sound doesn't stay on their property, Chad.
No, I understand.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know of too many chainsaws that are starting before 8 o'clock in the morning.
Somebody called me. I forget what neighborhood it was, but he said.
I think there's other things going on, and it's Round Top Road. Is that correct?
No, I don't think it was Round Top.
Okay. Sometimes there's other things going on here, but chainsaws maybe on Sundays. Sometimes people don't think that you should be making noise on Sundays, and I'm not saying one way or the other if it's right or wrong, but I don't think there's a lot of chainsaws being operated before 8 a.m. in the morning. These are isolated incidents for the most parts. I think it's more the leaf blowers that just go continually during leaf season. I hear them every day when I leave for work, and and when I come home at night, they're still blowing away somewhere. That seems to be as far as that type of equipment. And then the homeowners, cutting. Sometimes it's not always taking down a tree. Sometimes it's just cutting up their firewood.
Yeah. For me, typically Sundays, if I get a day during the week to work in my yard, Sunday's typically the day.
You might be able to limit some times to some reasonable times, but you would have to be careful because sometimes, like for example, I know when we addressed this last time, we talked about snow blowers and and leaf blowers that were being used for snow removal. Sometimes they have an ordinance that said that they have to get their sidewalks cleared before a certain time after the snow falls. Some people leave for work and they use this equipment because they're not going to be back in time to clear their walks, to meet the snow clearance ordinance, or they're expecting deliveries and they want to have a safe walkway or a safe pathway. So it's a public safety issue. So if you just blanketly say, hey, no snow blowers and no leaf blowers between these times, people are going to be unable to possibly clear their walks and their driveways, depending on their circumstances. So, there's a lot of caveats when we look at this. and address
Is there
this before.
Chief, is there a seasonality to this? I mean, without foliage, I mean, things carry further, so people just.
Well, I can remember, Mayor, I think up on your street, you had lawnmower issues years ago. So yes and no, and I think.
No, that was blowers. That was my
Was it
neighbor.
blowers? Okay.
My two neighbors were fighting, yes.
So I think, yes, for a large part of it is seasonal, but, I mean, trees can be cut down all year round. But the leaf time is definitely a busy time for us. The snow time is definitely a busy time for us during snowstorms and after storms. We could certainly look at the noise complaints that we get. Like I said, most times when we do get a complaint, we do investigate it. We do try to find the source of the noise, and we do primarily get compliance. When people refuse, then we have to try to, build a case based on a repetitive, unreasonable, annoying noise that's being created maybe by somebody who's, using their property for a business or using it for construction or, something like that. That wouldn't be permissible over and over again. There's various other ordinances, excuse me, that would prohibit that.
Okay, so this is going back to housing and zoning?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll look at it and see if there's anything worth doing anything with it. Ralph, you gave us a work at home policy.
Yep. Sorry, I forgot to mention that during my report, Ralph. This was also part of the meeting, but go ahead.
So your committee has reviewed this?
Yes, the
in concept.
committee has, yes. So Chad, I'll turn it over to you.
No, go right ahead. This was something that you were discussing, so I'll provide color commentary if you need.
Okay, fine. I was thinking about this. I have been thinking about this for months. Based, of course, this all started with the COVID issues that we've had over the early or late spring and summer, with people having to work at home when we were shut down, and and the governor's original order is actually still in place that if people can work from home, they should. That has not been rescinded yet. That gets lost in the shuffle, I think. But I'm reminded of that by Lisa all the time. But I was also thinking that when this is over, and it will be over at some point, that the borough, I think the wave of the future will be that, the situations come up to work from home will be more frequent than they certainly ever were. Before COVID, I don't recall. I think we had a few instances where we had some people working from home, but for a limited period of time for a certain situation that occurred in their life. But I thought about it and worked with Lisa to come up with a policy that would survive COVID and be in place for the future employees for the borough, with caveats. There's certain situations when it's permitted and certain work through the borough administrator and the governing body to make sure that it's not abused or that they fit the circumstances that are listed in at least the document you have before you now. And it worked its way. I worked with the personnel committee. They were happy with that draft that's in front of you. A couple word changes were made by Lisa. She had my name in there, for example, as instead of borough administrator. So we've got that changed. And we also added some weather issues that may come up. Would be a good thing for people not to come in, try and get in a snowstorm, or come in the morning to have be sent home in the afternoon, causing possible danger in traveling roads. So that was added in there, and they were happy with what we had, and so it's now before all of you.
So I'm generally supportive of it. This can be a slippery management slope, but I think it's going to be used cautiously and not pervasively in the borough. So I think getting something down makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you don't need us to approve it. Technically, this is an administrative decision. Yes, Jack, or do we need a council?
Well, I was thinking, Jack, that it's for it to become a policy. Now, I don't know if that's,
It should be adopted by the council. It's gonna
Yeah,
become a
let's-
policy.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, I
Do
agree.
we want to make it a resolution, Jack?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, well, we could do that for next meeting. Is that
Sure.
okay?
Yep. For next meeting.
Okay.
yeah, if anybody had any changes or suggestions before then, let Ralph know.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Just
Okay,
to clarify 2 points, which I think I heard you say, but I just want to make sure, Ralph, you said that this was developed in conjunction with our HR attorney.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And furthermore, it's been reviewed by the Personnel Committee, and this is the wording that they approved as well.
That is also
And commented on by the Personnel Committee, Tom.
Right, okay.
So,
I just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
okay. Next is mural painting at the train station. As you know, we had to put off the mural from last May due to COVID. And in the meantime, our artist has come up with a new technique that they've been using in Philadelphia, and she's already done a few murals with this new method, which is painting on parachute cloth. So she has the outline on the parachute cloth, and you just roll it out and paint on it and let it dry and roll it back up. And they come in I think 5-foot pieces. So they're in it's in sections, and then it gets put up and sealed on the wall. And she said some of the ones in Philadelphia have been there like 10 years and look brand new. So it's very long wearing. You just have to, every once in a while put another seal over it. So what we're looking to do is on the, this is the Cultural Arts Committee, is on December 12th, when the farmers market is there, is to have the train station open, if we can, if the council approves, to put some tables in the train station so people can go in on a scheduled basis and do painting, to have the kickoff to start painting. I checked with Jeff Price on what the capacity is for the COVID numbers and the square footage. And I think he said it's 19. We probably would not have, we'd probably have maybe 8 or 10 people at a time in there to paint, and scheduling people. So we know how many people are coming and when they're signed up, probably from like 10 to 2 on that same Saturday that the farmers market is there. And also the other thing we wanted to have, because I know the farmers market is continuing on the 5th and the 12th of December, but they don't have all the farmers that they've had in the growing season. So what we wanted to do was have some small craft market to help raise money for the mural, so that they'd pay a $25 fee to have a table, and that would go towards the mural, because now we're trying to kick off the fundraising for the mural as well. So that's what we're looking for, is until we have the train station rented, I figured we might as well make use of it.
I gotta be honest, I don't like murals. I've found very few of my life that I've actually thought look good.
Too late. Yeah.
Huh?
Said you're too late.
Yeah, this one's pretty cool. It's like a postcard from the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
nice
is
looking.
there a
Pretty
picture
cool.
of it? Because I don't
Yeah,
see a
it's
picture
actually really
of it.
cool.
Yeah, we do have photos of it.
Yeah.
Is that
It's not
our
on
website?
target, is it?
I'll see if I can put it up. I'll show you in a minute.
Mayor, if I,
Packet, but it was distributed once before, some time ago, I believe.
Well, so I've seen the one that's going to go on the walk across the train station, but this is.
No,
Right, that's what we're talking about. That's what this is.
Oh, I thought we were talking about making a mural in the train station.
No,
No, we're actually painting it in the train station, and then it goes up on the wall.
All right, I misheard you. I thought we were
So
going
it's-
to paint something else. Okay.
the concept that the artist came up with is we can do it on this portable means, but paint it off site and then put it up later.
Okay.
And the advantage to this also is that, we were talking with the chief about, having to shut down Mount Airy Road because she'd have to be on one side of the street projecting it to get it drawn on. And it would have been a lot of police time and safety issues, which we won't have now.
Yeah, I misunderstood you. Still don't like murals, but I misunderstood.
I like the idea that we're doing it in the train
that's
station.
fine.
We're making use of that asset. I think it,
That's fine.
having it coincide with sort of the holiday season in conjunction with the farmer's market. I think it's a good idea. I think we should go for it and get it done. People have been waiting for it. I think not Chad, obviously, but other people have been waiting for it to go up,
Yeah. And I think then what we'll try and do, that would be like the kickoff to start painting. It's going to take a while to get the whole thing done. So we were thinking of, either trying the library meeting room on Sundays or Friday nights and kind of have an ongoing schedule of opportunities to paint so we can get different groups and different communities to come in and do it. But this was going to be the kickoff at the train station.
Mayor, as you move forward and schedule this, there is a 10-person limit. I know you said you probably have 8 to 10, which is within that limit, but it's not the higher number. I think Jeff was probably referring to the indoor dining capacities at 25%. I'm not sure where he got that number from, but there's a hard 10-person limit on indoor gatherings. So it would have to be less than 10 people.
And then while you brought that up, Chief, does that also apply to retail space for a store?
It's gathering. So
okay,
I'll have to go back and look at it. And I think the retail is still a percentage of the capacity right now.
Yeah.
There's so many different parts of this.
I know it's getting more and more.
Any events basically that are indoors, it's 10 people.
Okay.
So it's not really it's not a retail activity.
Yeah, because I know some of the stores have asked me if they were limited to 10, and I didn't think so. But
I can look and get clarification on that for you.
Oh, good, thank you.
I just have a logistic question along with the scheduling. I think this is a fine idea, and using the train station makes it more of a community center. But who's going to actually do the logistics of the scheduling?
That's the artist and downtown Bernersville work that out, and the Cultural Arts Committee. We're all working on that. They're going to put I think she's going to create a sign up thing on the downtown Burnsville website, and the Cultural Arts Committee has volunteered to be, the doorkeeper. So we'll be in different shifts maintained.
I could just visualize a lot of people at the farmers market seeing that activity and want to go over there and want to partake of it.
Yeah.
We have a lot more people than we anticipated.
Yeah, and I think what we said we would do is if people come over and say, oh, gee, I'd want to go in, we give them a sign up. You would sign them up right then. Well, how about this date? How about that date? And book them.
That's a great idea because that generates our next round of folks. And it gives people a no without being a hard no.
Right. Yeah, thanks. So are we good?
Executive Order 196, the chief is right. It applies to the number of individuals at indoor gatherings that are not religious services or celebrations, political activities, wedding ceremonies, funerals, or memorial services shall be limited to 10. The number of individuals at indoor gatherings that are religious services, etc., shall be limited to 25% of the capacity. But I'll have to look further and see what retail is at the present time. You're right, these executive orders, and they all have 20 pages of preamble.
Oh, I know. And whereas.
And then they refer to and incorporate prior executive orders instead of just issuing a table that says what you can and can't do.
Yeah, I know.
I think limiting it to 10 is easy enough, and we were going to stay at a number close to that anyway. So
yeah,
I think, we just say 10 and play it safe,
Yeah, I think that's plenty to be painting at once anyway.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, I will pass that on to downtown Burnsville and we'll get some information out on it. Anthony, you gave us the dates for next year. It's hard to believe it's almost here. Anyone have any problems with any of those dates?
Not that I saw.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Was the 4th, I think you said? The
If you
Monday.
can ask COVID what their plan is, I'll tell you what my vacation plan looks like.
It's nice to have them all ahead of time because then you can work around them. Okay.
I'll do a resolution for next meeting so we can officially adopt that. I just wanted to get the reorganization date especially out there because I got to notice that.
Are we
in
conflicting with any? I didn't notice if there were any Tuesdays. Were there any Tuesdays?
There was one for Columbus Day.
Okay.
Memorial Day actually is not a Tuesday because that's before Memorial Day. We meet the Monday before, so there's only one Tuesday this year.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't think we had any correspondence, did we?
No.
No. Any unfinished business?
I thought there was some correspondence. Is that for this meeting or for about trees that somebody was worried about?
Oh, I think, yeah, the zoning is dealing with that.
Yeah, that's an enforcement issue and there are fact questions, but that's being dealt administratively.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was just you and I, you for Shade Tree, and I was copied on that, Tom.
Okay, sorry, I misinterpreted what that was for.
Yeah, and Jeff's on vacation this week, so it'll be next week.
Yeah. Do we have any new business? Okay, then we will have our second open session. So anyone from the public who would like to speak on whatever, name, address, and 3 minutes. I see Johanna.
Just quickly, I was at the planning board meeting and the topic of dry wells came up. There was an ordinance and in general, this is just my interpretation. I thought as it was impractical, but Terry Thompson said something about that last year she had stuffed envelopes with information about, in this case, it was a septic system. So I'm wondering, I don't know the process. I would suspect that if the Environmental Commission wanted to research and give some suggestions. I'm thinking the way to go is education for the general residents on how to maintain. That's the issue. What has happened is as there's more impervious surfaces and more regulations by the NJDEP, there's been more of a movement towards dry wells as a solution for handling storm water. But then there was a slight shift, not in regulations, but realizing that the problem of maintenance, if they're not maintained well, they don't function. And a lot of people don't realize that. They might not know they have them. They may not know how to maintain them. So I'm thinking that maybe some education would be a solution for this. Actually, the movement now is not to have man-made structural things, but it seems that contractors and architects or whatever are leaning towards dry wells are a solution, and we have to live with that. So how does this work? Do we present something to you and get permission to put any information we had into the tax mailing?
I think it's such an early stage. Probably, Johanna, if you talk to Jeff Price when he gets back and
Okay.
Bob Brightly, really as I said, the planning board raised a lot of valid questions about it. So I'm not sure exactly where we're going from here.
Okay. Yeah, I realize that, and I have nothing, I have no input on however they go. I'm just thinking that either simultaneously with or public education may be one way to contribute to this, but whatever you decide, and I'll wait for them and hear from them and maybe bring it up at the planning board meeting.
Yeah, and you're right. That's what Terry Thompson did suggest.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anybody else have their hand up? Not seeing anyone else from the public, so I will close the public session. Now it's time for a closed session. We will be coming back out. We will reopen. After the closed session, we are discussing personnel matters, property acquisition, and negotiations, I believe. So do I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll move to go to closed session.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay.
All right.
We'll take a little break here.